10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, what the hell is up with LOCKJAW?
That's a hard pounding intro you got there.
It is. A buddy of mine made that for me.
Gets the
I mean,
blood
I
pumping.
did all the video shit, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, so for people watching, who the hell is LOCKJAW? Who are you, man?
I'm Medavon Deranger from the band LOCKJAW. We're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm primarily the person that's kept the band going, but I've had different lineups, and I've been doing it since '98, and my current lineup has been with me for like the last 2 years.
Cool.
With a drummer situation in and out, but now in.
All right. And so I have to go right off the bat with one of my interesting questions. What is your favorite tour snack?
Favorite tour snack? Well, I like any kind of sugar-related products, but I'm a bit more addicted to cold brews from Dunkin', and if I can get one of those, then it'll keep me from eating pretty much anything, and I'll be content. And then I'll probably have like a protein bar instead of a dinner. So I guess cold brews and protein bars.
Oh, that's healthy.
Kind of.
All right, so I guess I'll piggyback off of that. And if you were a salad, what kind of dressing would you have?
Yeah, so probably for like 20 years of salad eating, I wouldn't have any dressing whatsoever and have my salad straight. And it's kind of gross, but I was just in it for the vegetation aspect of trying to offset all the sugar and stuff I eat.
Yeah.
I guess later now in life, I'd go with probably a hint of Italian, but not like too much.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Right. Or if there's like sprinkled cheese, I would just like cover it in that instead.
Hell yeah. Nice. All right. So, what's the most memorable show that you've played?
There's a lot of memorable shows. I guess the most current one in my mind in 2016, it was like the last show LOCKJAW did before I took like a 6-year break performing, and we were direct support for Manson at the Eagles Ballroom. It was 5,000 people, sold out show. It was like super huge and awesome, epic time. But even more awesome, like after the show, we went home, unloaded our stuff, and then I loaded all my outdoor gear and stuff and drove 13 hours straight to Ontario. And it was just such a cool transition and contrast of going from like this super intense, wild environment of like, you know, loud volume and rock and roll and adoration to like off the grid into nature unbound and just like such a serene place. But then I ended up getting there and launched my boat, went fishing to sunset, then realized I'd been up for like 36 hours. And the room I was staying in was like a kind of refurbished closet space with a mattress and that. It was like all wood with no decor and very cold looking. So I just like passed out and then probably woke up maybe like 6 hours later in the middle of the night. Had no idea where I was or how I got where I was, and just seeing like wood everywhere. And I thought I was like in some kind of huge coffin. And I may have yelled when I woke up too, and panicked a bit, but then like after a minute I realized, oh, I'm in Ontario. Okay. But yeah, it was just a cool going from such like a huge great show to completely the opposite, and a great escape.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's great. So like, what was it like, sharing a stage with Manson, or like, I'm pretty sure you said you opened for Typo and Power Man 5000, just all these incredible bands. Like, that's got to be insane. Like, what's it like?
It's pretty awesome, of course.
For sure.
The bigger the show, the more people, the more exciting it usually
Right.
is. The cool thing, like a bunch of times that I did open for Manson, happened to be in the Milwaukee area in the Eagles Ballroom, which was like a venue that I saw my first show at, which was Metallica on the Ride the Lightning tour, whenever the hell that was, years and years ago. So little 12-year-old me is there like rocking out, and never thought that like one day I'd be playing that stage, or let
For
alone even
sure.
a stage that big. So it was sort of like this kind of musical circle of evolution that coincided with my life to like bring me at that point. So every time I've been on a stage of that size, and especially that particular one, it was just like, I felt like, wow, I've succeeded, I've made it. Like, doesn't matter what I do tomorrow because I've hit this point. But then, a few days later, or weeks, maybe even a month, if it's really good, then you start to get the after show blues, and you're like, oh man, I need that charge again. Because, you don't really go into it for getting that rush or charge from performing, but you end up getting used to it and love it. And then like once it stops, then you kind of feel like you're missing something. And, that's when depressive feelings start to wander in. And
Yeah, it's the same way on like, attending a show too.
right.
Like I went to a huge festival last month and saw like a dozen bands, met a few of them. It was insane. It was amazing. I fucking loved it. And I had to come back home and go back to my job. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, man.
It's like an unwelcome reality check.
It really is.
But yeah, it's always a great thing, and I'm always thankful when I've had the opportunities or get the opportunities to open for bands that I've like looked up to or admired or have inspired or influenced me in any way. It's just such an honor and privilege, and something that I always hold in high regard.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now as a musician?
Booking shows has been kind of a pain in the ass. It always was kind of a pain in the ass, but before I took the break in 2016, like I was turning down more shows than I was taking. And now it's kind of a struggle to find venues because there's so many bands competing to play out right now, and a lot of touring bands kind of have a set package, so they're not having openers as much.
Which is kind of bullshit. I don't get what I've noticed that too, though. It's like, where the hell are the local opening bands? Like that used to be a thing always.
Yeah, I think they're trying to like save money and make more money somehow this way. But I would think like at least like local support would help bring them more people to help make them more money.
Exactly. And like I'll go to a show now and they'll be just playing stuff, over the speakers for an hour. And I'm just like, come on, let's get even if the local band sucks, let's show them some support.
Yeah, we did a string of shows with Wednesday 13 last year, and that was super awesome. Really great venues. But they might have been the exception to like, the touring national acts that are within the realm of bands that I'd want to be opening for.
Yeah, for sure. So how's the reception so far for your latest album, Ben?
It's been super awesome, especially kind of within people within the industry, like webzines and podcast interviewers like yourself, fellow musicians and friends. Like, definitely the best reception I would say that LOCKJAW's got for album, song, and video in like a long, long time. And I'm not sure if we ever got that great of a reception for a song. I'm in the Sounds and Shadows group, which you're also in. We were voted best single of March in 2023, which was super cool because I've never had a best single and that I can recall.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I guess it means a lot of fans are digging us since we got so many votes, or they just like me as a friend. Maybe a combination, but hopefully it's the music pulling them in more.
So, if you had to pick one of your songs to play for someone who is potentially going to become a fan, which song would you pick?
I'd probably pick Bored Again, and Bored Again's on the Dead Rising video game on Xbox, and it's our only song with 250,000 plays on YouTube, so I assume people dig it. It seems like the good song to maybe play for new fans, percentage-wise of getting them like into it versus like
So, how'd you get your song in the game anyway? Like how'd that happen?
We were just approached like by luck by a producer out of LA that was scouting bands on CD Baby for Capcom, and he liked two of the Lockjaw songs from the album Dirty Minds and Smiling Faces, and they were kind of choosing between the two, and I was kind of like, well, go for Belligerent because that's a great song, and I thought like that was the strongest song I had at the time, and ended up going with Bored Again, and I was like, oh, all right, if you're sure about that. And now over time, like it's I'm way more about it than I was like after the album came out. You tend to have like songs of yours that you like a bit more than other songs. There's one point in the process where you love them all, but eventually kind of I could have done different things on this song or mixed it different, and so yeah, but I'd play Bored Again.
Okay. So if you could tour with any band, like Build Your Dream Tour, who would you be supporting?
It's probably a little bit too late now, but Skinny Puppy.
I think a little bit late on that one. Isn't he doing his farewell tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tried to get on some shows kind of as soon as I found out about it, but the place would have been like a year before I found out about it to get on it. But I'd also love to play with Ogre and his solo thing. 9 Inch Nails I've always really wanted to open for. Queens of the Stone Age would be another one that I love, a little bit out of my genre, but I'm more about kind of just going with whatever really rocks, and there's like a lot of bands that aren't quite industrial or even metal that I listen to that I would just love to play with. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, even. I know that'd be a weird mix, but
hey, it'd be cool though.
they're one of my favorite bands.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Your sound, like, so did you self-describe it as hell rock, or did that come from somewhere else?
One of my early guitar player fill-in guys, he did actually no, he was at my first show, and he's like, wow, he's like, that was so cool, man. He's like, I really like your sound. It's kind of a bit like this and that. I forgot the references he made, but it's like hell rock. And I was like, like, what the fuck is hell rock? Like, yeah, it's just kind of like what you got. And I was like, huh. And then it sort of just stuck. And over the years, after a while, I started kind of labeling it as hell rock because other people would. To me, it's just like a sound that's kind of more represented like in the darker vein of things. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a certain style, but
yeah, it's like kind of industrial, kind of heavier metal, but it's also like not extremely heavy, but kind of heavy.
Yeah, more of like a lyrical content too. It's like a little bit darker or a bit darker like chord changes or tones to it. I often use chromatic tone progressions, which is very kind of, you can hear a lot in like different doomy and goth stuff, and it's just like something that kind of came to the music, I suppose, from drawing influences from bands from Motley Crue to Skinny Puppy to Manson and 9 Inch Nails to Queen and classic rock stuff, trip hop. I got really big into like Tricky and Massive Attack back probably like 20 years ago now, and it kind of formed the sound almost for the first Lockjaw album. And it's probably the only Lockjaw album that like has no heavy guitar, not one power chord in the whole album. And it's more kind of breakbeatish with like dark vocals over it. And I did that album when I was a phase of kind of like trying to distance myself from metal because I grew up on metal and I was a headbanger for years and years. And I think at one point I just got tired of like the stereotypes that people would put on someone with like long hair and a metal head. And I was just going through a phase where I think I wanted to find something new and got big into funk and some hip hop and trip hop and all different styles of music. And then I kind of like pulled more of that into what I was doing at the time. So yeah, the album Looking Like a Devil, it sounds nothing like any album after that, but it was a good blueprint and a good starting point, and was actually, I think, the only record I was really interested in by a big label like Roadrunner Records. Was interested in some of the songs, and then they wanted to hear like more stuff by me. But at the time I was recording on a 4-track demo cassette player when I was at home. So that was the only easy access I had without going in a studio. And I recorded about 5 or 6 songs that were probably kind of crappy sounding. And either they hated those songs or the guy got fired because I think the label went under for a little bit and then resurrected like sometime later in the 2000s.
All right. When you're not playing a show, or do you still go out and support like the local music scene?
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah.
A lot of times, me and my fiance, we end up going to like Chicago and parts of Illinois to see different bands. We've been going to Catch Edema and Julian K. We have some friends in, so we've been going to see those bands a lot. And then a lot of times I'll have friends playing out in Milwaukee and try to support when I'm not playing shows. And if the weather's not like super crap like it usually is, then I go out and battle my social anxiety and try to network and be social.
Have you ever had like any interactions with fans with just like really fucking weird?
Pretty much the same as your last interview guy answered. Yeah, I seem to attract like the weirdest people like in any situation. Like if there's one weird guy, the weirdest guy out of 20 people is bound to come and talk to me. And I'll even tell my girl, I'm like, check out that guy over there, like someone doing really weird stuff or being super loud and obnoxious. I'm like, just wait, by the end of the night, he's going to be like asking me questions about something, and it never fails. The guy will come over and be like, hey. And the last time that happened, I ended up knowing him from Facebook, so it was a little bit awkward. And I was like, oh my God, and I couldn't remember who he was until like, I looked it back up. But yeah, I just attract weird types that like can make you uncomfortable, and you just kind of have to like, wow, this is interesting, and play through it.
Nah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I try to be nice no matter what, and fan is a fan, so you gotta be cool to them, and hopefully it helps the situation in the future.
Now, is there like a question that a bunch of people always ask you and you're tired of answering it?
Yeah. Most places when I go out of town, I get asked if I'm Chad Gray from Mudvayne, or like, hey, you know who you look like? Chad Gray. So that gets pretty damn old. But I'm trying to play along with it and like be a good sport about it and not take it as an offense, and just be like, you like him? And yeah, great. Yeah, awesome.
Or just be like, yeah, I wish I was fucking Chad Gray.
Right. I probably wouldn't be here, and I'd be on tour somewhere else.
Exactly.
So yeah, that gets annoying. But other than that, like I don't really mind any questions from people.
So where'd the name LOCKJAW? How'd you come up with it?
The name kind of arrived from two things. When I was a bit younger, I would hang out with like a lot of people that were like super loud and boisterous and like
Mm.
the funny guys, the cool guys. And usually when I would talk, I would get like talked over, or people wouldn't hear me because I wasn't like loud and obnoxious enough. And I didn't really care to be, but at the same time, they would get all the attention and
Mm.
conversation. And then I went through a bit of an acid phase. And a part of the effects of acid, you get like a very tight jaw. And like this one time, I was like, oh, I think I'm getting lockjaw. And then I guess that combined with the inability to be heard by
Mm.
people. And once I would get on stage, I could like crank the volume, and then people had no choice but to listen to me. And I can be much louder in person now than I used to be, I suppose. But yeah, so the name was kind of influenced by a combination of those elements.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the first time you're, probably when you're younger, just chilling, listening to music, and like the first time something just really made you feel something,
Well, when I was 4, my parents used to play the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack a lot, and Tommy's The Who soundtrack.
Mm.
And we'd plug all these microphones in, and me and my parents would have like all these different parts and stuff. And I'd be like little Tommy in the Who Tommy musical theater thing, whatever it's called, rock opera. And
Yeah.
then my parents would be the cool parts. So I guess that was like my start to really like enjoying music. And then I went on a crusade kind of to like find songs and music that either had like curses or like would say hell or goddamn and stuff like that. So I like slowly got attracted to like different music that way, and ended on the path to Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. And once I saw the album cover for that, like I saw the darkness and like the kind of evil imagery, and I was just like really attracted to like that kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess slowly as time progressed, I started to take on more of that element. And so that definitely pushed me into the musical like imagery, I suppose. And then I guess Metallica too. When I first heard them, I heard Jump in the Fire on the radio one night. And I was just like, whoa. And I didn't even know what the lyrics were, what they were saying, but it just like made me want to like get destructive and like make things. But I started getting a little better at guitar by that point, and was like learning all these Metallica songs and started playing thrash metal a lot. So that was definitely another point as far as like actual presentation of playing music start to develop.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're covered in them, so I want to ask about your tattoos.
What was that?
I said obviously you're covered in them, so I'd like to ask about your tattoos.
Oh, okay.
Like what you got going on. Tell us some stories about it.
Shit. I never wanted to get tattoos when I was younger, and I was like kind of thrown off by people that had tattoos when I was a kid, and it's like, man, I'm never gonna look like that, like these crazy bikers and sailors and stuff like that. And I got into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic, like they had pictures inside of all their tattoos, and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. And I was doing a lot of art around then, and was getting more into like different forms of art, including like body art. And then one day my dad was like, hey, you want to go get a tattoo? He's like, I'll pay for your first tattoo. And I ended up getting a scorpion, which was this one right here. And then I guess slowly stuff just started to grow out of it. And then like I had half sleeves for like a long time. And then over the pandemic, like I was kind of trapped at home with nothing to do, and a tattoo shop about a mile from here.
Mm-hmm.
So every Tuesday I was doing something called Tattoo Tuesday, where I'd get more and more done, and slowly got everything filled in on my arms and got a lot going on other places. I'm looking at this backwards. Just got an engagement tattoo.
Oh, cool.
Seahorse, which represents, well, they mate for life, so it kind of represents me and my fiance's love for each other, and
Mm.
I got a lot of Egyptian work and Inuit Indian type work.
Mm.
A lot of stuff that has like different spiritual type meanings and stuff like that. I've always been kind of into the symbolism type tattoos, and
Mm.
from I don't know, my symbol to like pentagrams and fish and scorpions and all kinds
Mm.
of stuff.
Nice.
Pretty much everything that I love, I try to put on my body in some kind of artistic representation as like a story.
I hear you. I'm just starting getting tatted up myself, but
Oh
eventually
yeah,
I'll be there. Yeah. I've got my all-time favorite band's logo right there.
nice. I
It's
think I saw
Lunar.
another band tattoo of yours you got recently. There you go.
There we go. Yeah,
Awesome.
that one's not done yet. I'm gonna get it filled in and put a couple of bats around it. But yeah, those are bands. And then on my other arm, I've got a couple of runes going on.
Nice.
I'm getting there, slowly
Yeah,
but surely.
it takes some time. It takes time and lots of money.
It does. My first ever one though was a total failure. I was in Vegas with some friends, a little
Sure.
bit tipsy, hadn't eaten all day,
Yeah.
and I got. See if I can show you. It's right.
Everything's
Right there.
backwards.
I
Oh,
got
okay.
that one little line and then
Wow.
almost passed out.
What was it gonna be?
A crescent moon.
Oh, cool.
We went to one of those like $20 flash tattoo stores in Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you can always get it fixed up.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's my one liner. I'm gonna leave it that way because it's a good conversation piece.
That is too.
All right. What's a weird fact about you,
A weird fact about me?
if you've got one?
Shit. I mean, I'm sure I have a lot that I don't want to talk about, but I don't know if anything's really weird. I collect like skulls of different creatures and stuff.
That's cool.
I don't like to kill animals. You know, I find it still like there's some spiritual type significance to like a bull skull or a
Mm.
alligator head or stuff like that. So I don't know. I collect like weird stuff and Egyptian statues, strange Buddhas like this. But like I said, I don't know if that's anything weird or not.
I mean, that sounds perfectly normal to me, but to other people it might be weird. I don't
Right.
know.
People are usually more shocked that I like to go fishing a lot and I have a boat and spend more time outdoors than I like
Mm.
do like in the attic or basement.
Have you got any good fishing stories? Like, something crazy happens while you're out there.
Some crazy what?
Like something crazy happened when you're out fishing.
Oh, yeah, there's shit. Well, one time in Canada, and it might have been that same trip, after the Manson show, but we were on Eagle Lake, and it's a pretty giant lake and has like different bays. So like takes about like 15 minutes to get across a bay, and then you're on the next area and stuff like that. So we went pretty far from our cabin. We're doing some fishing and it was all fine, but by the time we got back, like the waves were up to like 3 feet. So the boat's kind of going up like this and stuff, and the back end came out and the motor died. And I couldn't get it started. So then I tried to like row, but like the waves were just too powerful.
Mm.
And I hit the trolling motor, that wouldn't work either. And within like 5 minutes, we were closing in on the rocks, and like the waves are pretty big. So when the boat was going to hit, it was going to be a pretty hard hit. And my girlfriend at the time was all panicking, and she's like, "Oh my God, we're going to die. We got to get out of this boat. We got to get out of this boat." And she just like jumps out onto the rocks and like falls down and cuts her knees up. And eventually I got out a little bit smoother than that. And then the boat hit the rocks, but I like had a rope in my hands to it, but I was like, oh my God, it's going to be flipping over any minute. All my stuff is going to be in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I got it tied to a tree, and it was just like bam, bam against the rocks for like a couple hours. And I think about like 3 hours later, a boat finally passed, and we were like, "Hey, come help us!" Hey. I mean, I was fine there. I was like being trapped on this island because it was a nice sunny day, other than the extreme wind and 3 to 4 foot waves. But eventually, somebody came by and pulled us out, and the boat started up, and weren't going to be spending the whole night on the island. But yeah, there were a couple times in Canada where my boats come close to tipping over due to like cross currents hitting each other and crazy weather, just like moving in out of the blue. But I don't know, it makes me feel alive, and it's been some of my best times in my life. So
Yeah.
I find it way more exciting and satisfying to challenge your life with some waves than, just sitting around and wishing you're doing something.
Yeah. All right. We have a question from the comments here. My longtime viewer, Kyler, would like to know, what is your favorite scary movie?
Kyler, my favorite scary movie, and I don't really watch scary movies much anymore because I kind of traumatized myself from doing acid and watching Hellraiser.
Oh, jeez. I fucking love Hellraiser, but I imagine that was quite the trip.
Yeah, it was like an awakening of like, why the hell am I watching this? I don't understand. What am I doing? But one that I still like and like then would be Nightbreed, Clive Barker, which I think was kind of based off of the Cenobites and the Hellraiser stuff, or like sidetracked somehow. Something was related to it, I think, but I can't quite remember what. But yeah, that was a great movie, and I think I used some samples from that on various stuff that I released under my band Murder Love God and other projects that I kind of like tried to sneak them in, see if anyone would notice. Make sure nobody sues me.
Exactly.
Right.
So have you done a lot of projects over the years?
Well, mainly Lockjaw and Murder Love God is the other one. I haven't put out an album with that maybe three-ish years, 3 or 4 years. But that project was more like something that I would put the music in that wouldn't work in Lockjaw. Like I'd present songs to the band, and live they just would sound like weird or just wouldn't do it. So then I ended up with maybe like 8 songs that were kind of like throwaway songs, and I was like, well, these songs are still cool to me, and I still should put them out something. And I had a song called Murder Love God. So then for some reason I just used that name and then started putting excess music out under that name. And then as time passed, I would start doing albums like specifically for that, or sometimes I would write an album and I wasn't sure if it was going to go with the Lockjaw route or the Murder Love God route until it was like a bit more formulated. And I've guested on different projects. No one like really huge or probably that known, but like a band Insect, I did vocals on a song or two. I don't know if you can hear that, but my dogs are going nuts, so I apologize.
That's okay. I'm surprised my cat's not yelling at me.
And I did vocals on a song by this band Trick Pretty, and it's been a while since I've done any collaborations, but I used to like do that stuff more often, or see my friends' bands play live and they invite me up on a specific song and I would do it with them and stuff like that. But I love collaborating when I can, and it's always a satisfying experience to share your creativity with other people and expose it in a different way.
For sure. If you could be like asked to collaborate with anybody, who would your dream be?
Probably Trent Reznor.
Yeah. Can't beat that.
Though a good story, I was super into this band called Videodrone back in 99, 2000. They were touring with Orgy. Pretty known band like around that time. Now it seems people don't know quite as much about them, but Jonathan Davis sung on a song with them, and Fred Durst was on a song. They just had like this weird collaboration of people on this album. And it's probably like one of the coolest industrial rock albums that I can think of. And eventually years pass and I'm on Facebook and I saw the singer Ty from Videodrone on there and I was like, whoa. And I was like, that's that dude I used to love in Videodrone. So sent them a friend request. And I didn't think much of it. And then one day he posted like he was looking for like music to work with or projects. So I sent him a message and I was like, hey, I introduced myself, told him how much I loved what he did and thought that album was like one of the greatest albums ever and blah, blah, blah. He was like, well, let me hear some of your music and, you know, maybe we can like do a collaboration. So I sent him something and he really dug it. And he ended up recording vocals for half of it. And it was super killer, super awesome. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm collaborating with this dude that I like looked up to and was kind of like one of the bands that inspired me and LOCKJAW when I first started getting that going. And then unfortunately he had to move, which was also where his studio friend was, and because he didn't have his own studio. Yeah. So the song kind of like hit a frozen point and is still like frozen in ice somewhere. And he had to kind of like, you know, take care of life and other things and take care of his family. So he doesn't quite have the time for it. But just that it happened to that extent, I was like blown away, and it was like super inspiring and just like a real positive thing for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We have another question from the comments. My buddy Gothish would like to know, what is the best lyric that you've written or your favorite?
Such tough questions. Probably the simplest lyrics in my song Belligerent, which the refrain is just not today. Not today. Not today. I don't know if it's the greatest, but it's the one that sticks in my head the most in like daily situations.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a question that you wish somebody would ask you?
I just love when people ask me like what a song is about, or like that question, what's the favorite lyric I've wrote? Yeah. Just stuff like that. I just find it really cool when people are interested in my music and stuff, and I take it as a complete honor to even like to have that time. Like time we're sharing right now is like such a privilege for me. And I think that's just what it comes down to, those moments where people want to know about your music. It makes you feel like you're doing something and you stand for something, you know, and it just puts you on the right path in your own head to conquer the kind of negative vibes and stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis that always kind of tries to work its way in.
All right, we have another one from the comments. Kyler again. Correct me if I'm interpreting your question wrong, Kyler, but I think what he means is there a song you previously released that you would like to redo?
Hey, that's a great question, because we are re-releasing our 2016 album Goliath on June 2nd.
Sweet.
And remastered. And it was an album that I just put out on Bandcamp, and at the time I didn't put a lot of effort into promoting albums. I would just kind of release them and say on Facebook, hey, I got a new album out, check it out. And people that were close to me or following me would know about it, but it wouldn't really get out there too much. Like with this last album, we had like a lot of different PR people, and I was promoting the hell out of it on multiple Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you know, Twitter. I don't use Twitter or Tweeter too much, but still promote stuff on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but I'd really like to redo the first album, Dirty Minds and Smiling Faces, because there's a couple songs on there that we recorded at different times in different studios, and the tonality difference is like so apparent to me when it goes from a few of the first couple songs to like some of the middle ones, and I'm just always like, it kind of makes me cringe. So I wish I could remix those or even re-record some of them.
My buddy Gothish just said, I just started listening to LOCKJAW's music, and the sound is inspiring me to get back at making my own music.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's great to hear. I teach kids for a living, and I teach at School of Rock, where we teach instrumentation and performance, and pretty much at the end of like a 3-month period of them working on songs in a group form, we do concerts, and sometimes I perform with them, sometimes they perform on themselves. But it's a super inspiring job when you can inspire others to like want to play music, and then you see that come to fruition, and it's just like, man, now I want to play. So it's kind of like a never-ending cycle of energy again, like everything else. Yeah, I totally love that when something I do or my music will inspire someone to want to play, whether it's guitar or sing, make a song, make beats.
Kyler says, oh man, you're so wholesome. I can't wait for you to come back on the show in the future.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of perfect because, the only thing I had left is there anything you want to say to your fans or that might be watching, or any new fans you might have made tonight?
I love you all. I appreciate you all. Check out Annihilove. And today, Friday Bandcamp, if you buy it, all the money goes back to me.
Absolutely. All right. Before we end this, I just want to remind people on Monday, I'm doing a special Monday edition with Dennis Pana, aka Plan Left. That's going to be friggin' amazing. And then I'm announcing next Friday, I have Gen Cab. It might be at noon. We might change that, but I have Gen Cab next week. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Almost played with Gen Cab last year. We opened for Aesthetic Perfection, and they were on the tour, but then Gen Cab, or the singer, he like lost his voice and had to cancel out on like a few of the middle of the tour shows. So on that show, he wasn't on there.
I saw them last month at Dark Force Festival.
Oh, nice.
So I've been like pretty much going down the roster of that show and hitting up all the bands I saw. I'd be like, hey, you guys are cool. You want to talk? It's actually working, so that's good.
The way to go. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and for your input. And tonight has been a fantastic interview. A lot of fun. Thank you so much, Metavon, for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I totally appreciate the support.
No, definitely. Yeah, we'll have to have you back at some point.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. Have a good one.
Drop the bass. This